How's it going, everybody? We welcome you to episode 73 here on Hawaii Football Now. Big mahalo to our sponsors, Spectrum Mobile and Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union. Jordan Headley, Hunter Hughes back with you. We record this Wednesday, January 18th at 7 a.m. Hawaii time. All set to release this tomorrow, Thursday, January 19th, as we are marching right through the month of January. The traditional signing day is not that far off. There is a lot more news coming our way here shortly, I would imagine, as we've already seen some recent verbal commitments that have committed to signing on February 1st. Some of them, obviously, for the University of Hawaii. And we'll get into that as we go throughout the show as well. As part of our quick opening drive, wanted to give a shout out to our guy, Jonathan Salvador, who joins us as our producer, taking over for our boy Jaron, who is still involved, but doing some other things as well for ESPN Honolulu. So we wanted to welcome Jonathan to the squad, if you will, as he is very ably taking over and keeping us in line because, well, we need it. We need all the hand holding we can get here on the pod. So shouts to Jonathan for jumping on board. And one other note before we get into the meat of the podcast, tomorrow, January 20th, if you will, so 2 days from now, but one day after we release this thing, is the RSVP deadline. If you are interested, Nakoa is putting on an event Wednesday, February 1st. That is the traditional signing day. It'll be in the evening. I believe 5 p.m. is the start time. It is a National Letter of Intent Signing Day dinner. It'll be at the Sheraton Waikiki, one of their ballrooms there, the Lanai Ballroom. Again, this is being put on by Nakoa. You can RSVP via Eventbrite deal. I would say the easiest way is to kind of just Google Nakoa or go on Twitter, to their Twitter account, and they got a link to the RSVP page. But it's pretty cool. It's like tables of 10. You can get a table of 10, or you can get a table of 9 with one of the coaches that'll sit at your table. There are also going to be a handful of signees joining the dinner as well. It's a fundraiser, obviously. Proceeds benefiting the Rainbow Warrior football program, helping with summer school recruiting, cost of attendance, and other program needs not met by the athletic budget. But just wanted to put that on everybody's radar. If you feel so inclined, it should be pretty cool. You can contact Jennifer at koa'anuenue.org as well for more information. But it's a pretty cool thing, I would say, Hunter, to get a chance to kind of break some bread with not just the coaches, but some of the future Warriors who come February 1st officially will be part of the Brotherhood. And that's kind of what they're calling Brotherhood 2023, kicking this thing off. As you can have a pretty cool conversation, talk story with Coach Chang, a lot of the members of the staff, some of the new recruits, and get the folks excited, as February is going to be a big month. We already mentioned last week that spring practices will be starting a little bit early due to some of the construction there on Lower Campus later on in the spring and into the summer. So it's a nice way to kick off kind of the spring session, if you will.
Oh, absolutely. With this new era that Timmy Chang ushers in, that they continue to come up with creative ideas of incorporating our ohana of the greater University of Hawaii support system, if you will, on the island. And obviously Nakoa is a huge part to that allows for donations and help and resources to come to the football program. They've always done a phenomenal job supporting us, but bringing in something like this to allow for recruits to shake hands with business owners, leaders in the community, see what it means to be a University of Hawaii football player and why it's so special. Part of our New Year's resolution, Jordan, was getting some name, image, and likeness contracts signed for some of our football guys. And anytime you get business owners and football players in the same room, they start, just ideas start swirling of what they could potentially do together. So this is a huge win-win for multiple areas. Business owners win, just getting to shake hands with future great University of Hawaii football players. Coaches win with kind of bridging the gap there, and then future players win as well, in that networking kind of an idea. So big thumbs up from me as a former player, and hope it goes well for him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's a really good opportunity for everybody involved, a chance to talk some NIL on NLI Day.
Yes.
A whole lot of acronyms. It's like the Department of
NBD.
Education.
No
Yeah,
big deal
it's
for those out there.
yeah. So again, this is Wednesday, February 1st, basically just a couple of weeks away, at the Sheraton Waikiki. Again, through any of Nakola's social media handles or anything like that, you can get the link to it. Again, you can email Jennifer as well at jennifer@koa'onuenue.org. Should be a pretty cool event. And the RSVP deadline is this Friday, January 20th. So tomorrow, if you're listening to the pod on the day we release it, so a chance at least to maybe get a last minute spot at one of the tables there. All right, as we transitioned into the game time, a good chance to remind everybody that Hawaii Football Now is brought to you by Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union. As Hawaii's largest credit union, they are committed to serving individuals and businesses through its 14 branch locations statewide and convenient digital banking services as well. As a leader in providing support for the islands, Hawaii USA is committed to strengthening Hawaii's financial wellness and sharing successes with members, local businesses, and the greater community as well. Visit hawaiiusafcu.com for more information. All right, game time here on episode 73. Last week, we got into the news that Coach Chang has basically committed to the run and shoot as the offense of this program. We also discussed a little bit about David Matlin announcing his retirement effective basically end of the semester. Once they head into summer, it'll be this June. So we'll expand a little bit on some of those thoughts, kind of the nuts and the bolts last week. But we did want to have a little bit more of a general discussion, right? Because I think a lot of people asking, what is this going to look like for the University of Hawaii, right? It's the catchphrase, it's the title of an offense, it is what they put on t-shirts, it's a state of mind, it's a state of well-being, it's the run and shoot, right? And so we've fortunate enough on this pod to have a guy who played in the system, at least a version of it under Nick Rolovich during his time at the University of Hawaii as the head coach. And so we figured, it early on, good chance to talk about it, right? Like, what does that look like? And our guy Hunter Hughes here, from a quarterback at the University of Hawaii, no better person to ask than somebody that's got a pretty intimate knowledge of this offense. And we talked a little bit about it last week, right? It'll be Coach Chang taking over the play calling duties. They have named Ian Shoemaker, offensive coordinator last year, and Roman Sapoli, the offensive line coach, as co-offensive coordinators who will assist in game planning, as usually all the position coaches do. But those guys will kind of have a lead role there. And then Coach Chang will take over the play calling duties. He said the playbook is about 70% done. He knows the run and shoot. It's what he's comfortable in. He played it in high school. He played it in college. And so he says that they've got a pretty good staff there. He is not averse to incorporating a tight end, which would be a little bit different look than the offenses that he played in back in the day. He sees a lot of value in Coach Shoemaker, who's not a run and shoot guy, kind of, expanding his vision, if you will, kind of seeing some of his blind spots, I believe is how Coach Chang called it. And a chance for them to collaborate and think outside the traditional run and shoot box, if you will. Although the run and shoot is kind of an offense that very much has obliterated the box over the years, the proverbial box. And so I guess for you, Hunter, what in your mind does this look like? Just some general overview, I guess, of the run and shoot when people throw around that moniker. What really is it in your experience?
Sure. Yeah. Without getting too complicated, the run and shoot gives you options. Most offenses go play to play in that they offer plays that are designed to beat a certain kind of defense. Usually one is catered for a man defense, and then the other one is catered for a zone defense. Those are usually the two kinds of defensive looks you're going to see as an offense. But the cool thing with the run and shoot is every single play offers the ability to attack both man to man and zone. And so if you go back and watch film of Timmy Chang, Nick Rolovich, obviously the late great Colt Brennan, whenever they drop back, they will look to one side of the field and then they will quickly look to the other side of the field. And what happened right there was they are confirming the coverage on the first look, and then they're jumping back to the other side of the field because that's where the route that beats that certain type of a defense is happening. It's on the other side of the field. Otherwise, they'll stay on that side of the field and hit their first look. And so this provides a lot of options for receivers, athletes that are maybe undersized, that maybe don't get opportunities elsewhere. We've talked about that a number of times on this podcast, why from a strategic standpoint, why it makes sense for Hawaii from a recruiting and a marketing standpoint to bring guys in, because they can do better in a system like this without maybe having the standard skill set that Power 5 schools have with the 4 stars, the 5-star kind of guys. At a more intricate level, the route running allows for versatility and changing routes on the fly. And so if a defense drops back into cover 2, but at the line of scrimmage, everybody thought that it was cover 4, again, that's another type of a defense, not trying to get too complicated here. The receivers can actually adjust their routes in flow, in chemistry with the quarterback, and the route looks completely different than how it even started out. So when everybody is syncing, when everybody is in flow and in understanding, the run and shoot is stinking difficult to defend, because it's like a Rubik's Cube that moves every single time you snap the football. It's incredibly exciting to play under. For quarterbacks, I mean, that's kind of what Hawaii was known for in the early 2000s, was throwing the ball around at least 50 attempts a game. Who wouldn't want to come receive in that system, throw footballs in that system? It's proved successful for us in the past. And one other thing, Jordan, the other patented thing in the run and shoot that we'll see is that kind of that drop back that flows to one side of the offensive line. Timmy Chang, Colt Brennan would flow to, almost extremely to one side of the field. And that's because the offensive line is very unique in the run and shoot as well, where they will completely eliminate one side of the field and the coverage moves with the quarterback to one side to allow them the most time to let the ball fly down the field. So really, really fun. And I hope everyone home is a little more educated on the run and shoot now.
Yeah, I always liken it to kind of always having the answers right to the
That's
test.
right.
Even if the questions get changed post-snap, pre-snap, mid-snap, always having the answers. And if you run it right, that's kind of the name of the game. What do you think is probably it? And I like that you bring up that it can be like a great equalizer, right? You don't have to be the biggest guy. You don't have to be the fastest guy. You don't have to be the strongest receiver, but there is a spot for you in the offense. I mean, you think of some of the great receivers, right? Some of the guys in the slot that just excellent route runners. Some of the wideouts that we've had aren't your prototypical like 6'2", 6'4" guys. You don't have to be all that big, JoJo Ward, and the immense amount of success that he had.
Ursua.
John Ursua, right? So that this should be pretty fun, and I think an attractive offense for a variety. It doesn't hurt to be 6'4" and run a 4.5, 4.4, but you don't have to, which I think is the cool part of all of this. Go ahead.
Just the threat of what these route schemes offer, it really puts those outside linebackers in the secondary in a tough position where they have to kind of soften things up. They can't commit super early, and what that allows is the running game to really be prolific as well, because if you get the front box covered up and blocked up, you can run the ball very well too, because the passing game opens up the running game and vice versa. So it becomes a very unique, balanced offensive attack from a big perspective.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We've seen some really really successful running backs as well um, in this offense. What do you foresee as kind of the biggest challenge or biggest challenges for Coach Chang in installing this thing? And we're used to, 1999, the first year of the run and shoot, and they completely right flipped the script and they were able to put up points. Nick Rolovich, the first year that they kind of committed to going to the run and shoot, very successful season there as well. And so this kind of a third reboot, if you will. And it's not always that easy, right? It's not like it's just, hey, here's the playbook. This is going to automatically work. But what do you think are some of the bigger challenges in making this transition?
Number one is education, getting all the players up to speed on a new brand of football that they haven't been taught. That's why it's super advantageous if this is going to be our offensive scheme from henceforth is recruiting locally here in Hawaii because they've been taught it from a very young age. Specifically, St. Louis School has been running this for a number of years, and that quarterback pedigree has run that system for so long. And so they're able to identify coverages that much faster, make decisions quicker. Receivers that play in that system are able to do the exact same thing. I'll just speak from experience. Rolo first started incorporating route schemes from the run and shoot in 2016. That would have been my junior year. Cole McDonald was a brand new freshman at that time, and it took us all the way into his junior year, 2019, for them to be pumping on all cylinders. It takes time in the system. It takes reps, not only throwing the routes, but making those adjustments on the fly and trusting that your receivers, tight ends, slots, outside wide receivers are making those same reads correctly. I wonder too about the coaching staff. Outside of Coach Demi Chang, we haven't had a lot of offensive coaches in this system be able to run or have experience in the run and shoot in the past. We've had Coach Shoemaker on the show. He's incredibly smart from a football IQ perspective. I have no doubt he'll be able to grab onto this, but it is a kind of a steep learning curve, Jordan. So that's one of the first things that comes to mind in our adaptation of this. And but it's kind of on brand with who we are. And for the sake of all these guys taking what the run and shoot can give them, more yards, more receptions, more points on the board, it's worth the sacrifice to kind of learn a new brand of football.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's the name of the game, right? Put points on the board, win football games, be
Yeah.
exciting. And so at the end of the day, that's the hope, a more productive offense, an offense that leads to more wins at the end of the day. I'm excited for it. I think this is the identity that the University of Hawaii needs. It needs to have a distinct identity, a distinct offense, in my opinion. Speaking of distinct, I think you've kind of touched on this a little bit, but what wrinkles do you anticipate seeing? Because as we talked about, it's not like all run and shoot offenses are the same. The version that Mouse Davis cooked up decades ago, it's evolved. June Jones has said it himself over time, who, by the way, is the offensive coordinator for the Seattle Dragons now in the XFL, and he has even said ahead of this latest gig, like he's got to on constantly every year. You got to change things up a little bit. You can't just rely on, and so he's gone through some different iterations and some transformations. We talked about the Rolo era, right? There was the heavy dose of RPO, run pass option,
Yes.
that worked brilliantly well. I don't know how many balls John Ursua caught just running seams down the middle on those RPOs, but the Rolo, Stutz, Smith, Brian Smith, Greg Stutzman version of the run and shoot, that was a big component. Like that was a staple of their offense. So I don't know what wrinkles do you kind of anticipate seeing with with this Timmy Chang version of what he envisions?
Yeah, you cater an offense to the skill set that you have already, the tools, if you will, that are already in place. And so I look at our offense from this past year, and who's coming back, who are our assets. Obviously, right off the top of my head is Tylen Hines. He's going to be phenomenal for us in the running game. We saw later in the year too his ability to catch balls out of the backfield. You and I kind of nudged each other, joking about what would it be like to put him in the slot, just because he's an athlete. Get him the ball and maybe some tunnel screens. That provides us options. We have a lot of receivers coming back in this next season. That's We're not really reliant on recruiting or the transfer portal to fill out our starting lineup at wide receivers. So it's going to be interesting to see where some of these pieces are implemented. And Coach Timmy is still wanting to use the tight ends that are on our roster in some capacity. So you can kind of see him in those comments already. The wheels are kind of spinning on how do we incorporate the skill guys that we have to help make this offense successful. Now, there's bread and butter concepts in the run and shoot that just help you be successful. One of them being kind of a smash concept, and that being a sit on the outside and then a corner over the top. Now, that puts the defense in a very difficult position. And I bring that up as kind of a bread and butter concept for us because it allows for quarterbacks to get the ball out of their hands and take that 5-yard hitch right off the bat. It's an easy completion. It's 5 quick yards, and you get the ball in a playmaker's hand to make him go one-on-one with a DB in open field. He might even break that tackle, and we're off to the races. So there are certain bread and butter concepts in the run and shoot that allow it to kind of easily pick up some momentum on an offensive drive.
Yeah, the tight end kind of intrigues me how they plan on incorporating that into this offense and seeing some
And
of those
we had
wrinkles.
tight ends. Sorry. We
Yeah,
had tight ends. We had Dakota Torres from Punahou, and then Tui Unga, who was fantastic for us in the passing attack. So it can be done. It may not be prototypical run and shoot from what we saw in the early 2000s, but a version of it is definitely out there.
yeah, versatility isn't bad, right? For an
Yeah.
offense, for a player. That should be pretty fun. All right. We will, I'm sure, talk much more about this offense as we go, especially once we get a look at it during spring practice, coming up very shortly within the next month or so. So that'll be a fun way to kind of look at things. We talked about the athletic director search. We haven't heard much on a successor. It's still fairly early. We asked you last week for some names or whatnot. They're pretty much I think the two names that I've heard the most. And again, this is just wish list type stuff from people. We're not reporting anything here. But like our guy Ikaika on Facebook, he threw June Jones's name in there. There were a lot of June Jones mentions, understandably so. I think Keith Amamiya, another one, former HHSAA, Hawaii High School Athletic Association executive director. He's made some forays into local politics as well here over the last couple of election cycles. He's a very knowledgeable guy when it comes to sports, and a really, really good businessman as well, from his time in that sector. So we'll have some further time, I think, to discuss the athletic director position going forward. But as always, feel free to drop us a line as we kind of will table this conversation until some further dates when maybe we hear a little bit more of what's going on with the process. Again, it is still fairly early. They got to post the thing. It's a state position. We all know how that goes. It's not just like they can pick somebody right away. They got to go take applications. But what you would like to see in the athletic director position, particularly as it relates to the football program, obviously from our angle here on the Hawaii Football Now podcast. And it'll be kind of interesting to see what names people come up with, and I think what they would like to see. I would just say this at this moment in time, before we move on and hit the halftime break here. I think it's got to be somebody with a pretty intimate knowledge of how things work around here. basically the same thing we talked about with the head coach hire. Like, they got to understand how dysfunctional things are,
Yes.
for lack of a better way, a nicer way to put it. It's difficult. You got to understand the politics involved, the structures involved, all of that, because it's just such a steep learning curve. So I think it's got to be somebody who's got a pretty good knowledge. As much as I would love to go, pluck somebody from a big athletic program someplace on the mainland or whatnot that may have a ton of experience, I think you gotta have a pretty good knowledge of Hawaii. So that's my 2 cents. And again, this will be something that we discuss at length. But anything from you, Hunter, before we turn the page and hit the halftime?
Yeah, I think it goes without saying on this podcast that we cannot take another L like what we experienced in the Todd Graham era, just with someone not understanding cultural implications of their actions. Um, and it's kind of one of those things. Todd Graham won football games, but as we see in hindsight, winning football games isn't everything here in Hawaii. And yeah, that's a challenging position, being the athletic director for University of Hawaii, with all of the kind of bowing and honoring that you must do, and do it with grace, but make sure the athletic programs are successful. But I think that was a lesson that hopefully, as an institution, we don't have to learn again. I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, we'll get into some of the news items in the second half, as well as dive into your comments that you were kind enough to drop us on our different platforms as well from the listeners. But before we head into that, I know, Hunter, we got Call the Coach. It's baseball season here coming up real soon. Volleyball's already underway. The spring sports are the rest of them are right on the horizon. And we've got Coach Rich Hill joining the Call the Coach show here coming up pretty soon, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Attention, UH alum. Baseball season is right around the corner. Join UH Alumni Relations for a Meet the Coach event featuring Rich Hill, head coach for the UH Rainbow Warrior baseball team, correct me, team, on Thursday, January 19th at Beer Lab on University Avenue. Learn more about the team, get pumped for the upcoming season, and enjoy drinks from Beer Lab and food from Hamada General Store. Help us kick off the 2023 baseball season. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit uhalumni.org. More in the second half, coming right up.
This is Hawaii Football Now from ESPN Honolulu.
All right, second halftime here on episode 73. Jordan Hunter back with you. Fun conversation there on the intricacies of the run and shoot. Little update, not much to report on the athletic director search in the first half as well. Let's get into some of the news and notes. Mililani defensive back, formerly of Pac-5, Ezekiel Rodriguez says verbal to the University of Hawaii. He will be another local boy signee joining on as well. Again, February 1st is that signing day coming up. He's a pretty exciting guy, I think. Second Mililani defensive back as well, to be part of this recruiting class. He did everything. He played like quarterback, running back, defensive back at Pac-5 before making the transfer over to Mililani, much bigger program, and really excelled there as a defensive back. I think that is pretty exciting. Again, anytime a defensive back signs on with the University of Hawaii, I usually have high hopes because Coach A. Bellamimian's got usually a pretty good eye for talent when it comes to that position group. He is playing in the Polynesian Bowl this Friday, as is University of Hawaii signee quarterback John Keawe Sangapolutele. That's being aired on the NFL Network, I believe it is this year. So pretty cool for that. It's up at Kamehameha Schools once again for the second year in a row. We know the whole Aloha Stadium thing. But I think it's pretty cool being played there on that campus, the special nature, obviously, that Kamehameha Schools have within the Polynesian community. Little easier to fill up that, and the view is just obviously spectacular. So that'll be pretty cool this Friday. You got a lot of the big dogs in town. Some really, really highly rated recruits at the Polynesian Bowl. The game just continues to get better and better from an overall talent standpoint. And so, but for UH, I think a solid prospect in Rodriguez, and another guy that they keep home, which I think is a fairly big deal.
Yeah, no, anytime you get local boys that are being given an offer at UH, you never know with guys coming out of high school just how high their ceiling is. It all goes hand in hand with the projections of how big and athletic and strong they will be whenever they're actually playing at University of Hawaii. But just giving guys the option, it's exciting to see they have what it takes at that level. We're investing and believing in them, and it's how we play the game. It's how we need to play the game moving forward. Just casting those nets, giving opportunities where we see fit to successful guys at the high school level here in Hawaii. So nothing but the best for Ezekiel. I was on the call earlier this year for a Mililani game and saw Coach Jacob Yoro, our DC, kind of prowling the sideline, looking on the field. So it's cool to see one of his grabs. It looks like from efforts like that. It's cool to see.
Yeah, it really is. And that Mililani team always continues to play a really, really tough schedule. Would they play Mission Viejo this year and went up and played not Bosco. They played another one of those California powerhouses on the road as well. So he's gotten a lot of really good experience there. Speaking of defensive backs, University of Hawaii freshman Peter Manuma, Campbell graduate, another local boy, named first team freshman All-American by The Athletic, which is a pretty big deal. It's pretty cool because I think obviously Peter's story, right, with how well he played when he was fully healthy out there, obviously, losing a loved one over the course of the season as well. We talked about this on earlier podcasts, but just everything that he went through, and then to go out there and be recognized, I think well deserved, because the dude was a wrecking ball at times, in the passing, in pass defense, as well as kind of getting into the backfield. His versatility, I'm really excited to see as he continues getting better and better in this program.
Yeah, his performance was really unexpected, Jordan. Kind of came out of nowhere. Our defense was forced to do what they could, albeit a lot of injuries in the secondary. And Peter Monema just kind of came out of nowhere and was prolific for us in that secondary position. And it never hurts with a Polynesian school like University of Hawaii to have that Troy Polamalu hair bouncing around. It just helps enforce the brand. So yeah, nothing but the best for Peter Monema as he continues his UH career.
Yeah, and the other thing on this defensive team, it's like Illinois, Georgia, Kentucky, Ohio State, LSU, Penn State, Notre Dame, Michigan, Georgia. There's a linebacker, Trey Moore, from Utah, UTSA, Texas, San Antonio, and then there's Hawaii, which I think is pretty cool. It's like, well, these are all really, really, really big schools, including Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, that all made the playoff.
I bet.
And then there's Hawaii. Then there's Hawaii.
I bet a lot of those freshmen have stars next to their name too, coming out of high school.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's an elite list to be a part of.
Yeah, and I think recognizes his productivity, right? I mean, this guy really got after it, and I think big things. Big things ahead for him. And we talk about versatility. That's going to be a big hallmark, I think, of Manama's game. As they figure out exactly how best to use him in this Jake Yoro defense. All right, another transfer news: Cameron Cooper, who we already mentioned, had entered the portal. He's found a home, Southeastern Louisiana FCS school. Lions went 9-4 last year, made it to the second round of the FCS playoffs, beat Idaho, and then lost to Samford, I think it was, in the second round of the 1AA playoffs there. So a chance for Cameron Cooper maybe to slide into the lineup there at a pretty good program as well.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, especially at the QB position. I think we pay a little more closer attention whenever we sign guys, like, well, what could they do for us? It's always unfortunate when it just doesn't pan out quite like we hoped to, maybe last year this time. But nothing but the best for Cameron Cooper. The guy can run, man. Was down there at practice, and obviously we saw him in games and kind of a read option style of being used. And so long, lanky, grasshopper legs. Wish him nothing but the best down in the bayou, southeastern Louisiana. It's gonna get interesting down there for him.
Yeah, he'll be used to the humidity.
Yeah,
that's for sure. After his time here, I have no idea what kind of offense Southeastern Louisiana runs, but I do know that they were quite successful last year out of the Southland Conference there in the FCS. All right, some of the comments that you've been able to drop us over time. Speaking of the athletic director position, we mentioned our guy Ikaika on Facebook with a vote for June Jones, our guy Al from VA on YouTube. Always shout out to Al, who is a prolific commenter on the YouTube pages. And boy, do we appreciate it. Also, a vote for June Jones going forward. His UH administration, quote, make things right. Hire June Jones to replace AD Matlin. And look, we kind of touched on this in the first half, but I think it's everybody could have predicted this, right? That there would be a lot of calls for June to be the athletic director. I have no idea if he is even interested. We know that things kind of soured with the last go around in the conversations between the university and June. I think he's enjoying his current setup and living a really, really good life and a chance to go into the XFL once again. And I got to imagine it's going to go pretty well there up in Seattle. That guy can coach. But he did have a heavy voice, right? During his time. I mean, a lot of the athletic department changes, the nickname, the logo, that a lot of that had to do with June, even though he was quote unquote just the football coach. So look, he's a guy with a very, very smart mind when it comes to branding, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to the business side of things, to go along with, a very, very successful track record as a football coach on the field as well. So yeah, no, I'm not surprised at all that his name, at least on our platforms for our show, has been the most commonly mentioned.
Yeah. I would be shocked, Jordan. I would be utterly shocked if he were to take this job.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
A little bit of inside knowledge here. Coach Jones plays golf about 5 to 6 days a week. And of those 5 to 6 days, every single one of them he plays without his shoes on. The guy plays golf barefoot. I bring all that up just to say he is fully enjoying retirement. The only time that he seems to take a call to get out of retirement is to score more touchdowns from an offensive coordinator perspective. He loves football. I'm not sure if he loves all athletics in that same capacity. And I feel like if you're going to be an athletic director and put up with the nonsense that comes with the chair of head athletic director at a school like University of Hawaii, you got to be able to put up with some stuff. And I don't know if he's going to put the shoes on just yet. So I'd be shocked.
Yeah, no, he loves the Lynx. It's Don Nelson, who lives here on Maui, former longtime NBA head coach, also big a barefoot golfer guy. And why the heck not, right? I'm not a big fan.
Yeah,
I think it's it's a feel thing. Like, it's a mindset.
It is. The top of my feet get too easily sunburned, and
yeah, it's a lot of sunburn. You gotta make sure the toes are taken care of.
Bro, that's not a good time, man. When the top of the feet are stinking red. So I don't know if he's ready to give that life up yet.
No, I don't think so. Some of the other comments in here, getting into the offensive change, right? Al from VA, I think, rightly points out that run and shoot is a player's offense. They get to make the decisions. And Hunter, you talked about this in the first half. And it really is. It is a very empowering offense for everybody involved. As you were given a lot of tools, as I liken to having answers to a test that could change at any moment. But it does give the offensive players a lot of freedom to go ahead and make those decisions and those reads and be right often. I do think it is quite an empowering offense.
Totally. Al, couldn't have said it any better myself, man. This, along with the way we play football, is one of our strongest marketing items in getting guys to come and play at UH. So I'm curious, we've talked about this in the past, in this new era of transfer portal. If we don't get guys that have left the islands to go play elsewhere, and keeping that open door policy at UH, how many guys choose to come home and want to play in this? Give it one halfway decently successful season, put up a lot of yards from a quarterback perspective, wide receiver perspective. We're going to get some guys that want to come home and be a part of this, because who wouldn't want to come play for Coach Timmy Chang in the run and shoot offense at UH? If you're familiar with that marketing pitch, or that sort of vibe, that anyone who grew up in Hawaii knows the prowess of someone like Timmy Chang and what he was able to do under that system, we're going to get some guys that want to come home.
Yeah, there's that kind of built-in gravitas, right, when it comes to having Coach Chang as the head coach and now running an offense that I think a lot of people are familiar with. James on YouTube expressed a lot of confidence, saying Timmy will do fine installing it as he grew up with it, ran it under June Jones. Al kind of saying, a little apprehension to the fact that you've got co-offensive coordinators and Coach Timmy Chang calling the plays. I think a lot of that is kind of on paper and the structure of things. But I do say, if it's the head coach calling the plays, right, the buck ultimately stops with him. And if that's kind of a clear setup for the offensive brain trust, I think it'll work just fine, because of the guy at the top of the pyramid, if you will, being the head coach. That things kind of fall into place naturally.
June did the same thing. Rollo did the same thing. You have those guys in place to identify defensive looks, say what might work here or there. But when push came to shove, 2-minute drill, Rollo took over on the headset and called everything. So it kind of requires one guy with a quarterback-esque mindset. I'm not saying that you can't do that if you weren't a quarterback, but it helps. You can kind of see what you would like to see out there, and call plays accordingly. So I don't have any problem with this. When you are the head coach, you need to kind of be the CEO at times, and my word is final. And so I'm a fan of that. I think football is one of those things that works best in kind of pseudo dictatorship style of a leadership style, from top down, if we're going to look at the organization. But I'm not saying Timmy's a dictator or anything like that. Please don't quote me on that. I'm just saying it helps when one guy has more of the responsibility.
Yeah, you need that clear understanding, I think, right?
Yeah.
And I think that will be there. I'm pretty confident in that. You got some suggestions from Al. Wants to see Mouse Davis involved, like Rollo brought him back in. Mouse is always around and always offering up some advice, and we know that Timmy has been able to kind of tap into some of his mentors for some direction over time. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I think people, and we as we mentioned, we've gotten a ton of comments on the offense and how that is going to look like. Some other Al recommendations. I love these, by the way. Chad Owens as Eddie Nikita's personal coach to get him ready, get him indoctrinated in the run and shoot. I think that's great. That's pretty funny. Chaddo's not part of the actual staff there. And then Al, we mentioned from VA, is asking for a football camp in the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. He points out to everybody still remembers Nady Lala from North Stafford High School here in Northern Virginia. He says, come run a camp out here. I'm all for it, man. There is a lot of talent in that DMV area. So that's pretty funny there. I like that a lot. Scott also mentioning after the college football playoff wrapped up last week, he said all the teams should be conference champions. I kind of agree there. I like that a bit. Although we had 2 non-conference champions of the 4 in the college football playoff, but he said, hey, the 12-team playoff is going to bring with it a new era there. One other thing that came up in the comments, especially with the University of Hawaii news of the offensive transition, how it's going to look. Actually, Al brought this up that I hadn't realized, or at least I had forgotten, that UNLV has hired Bobby Petrino, by the way, to be their offensive coordinator. I think a lot of football fans familiar with the Bobby Petrino saga of his time, right, at Louisville, at Arkansas with the Falcons for 11 games or whatever it was, back to Louisville or back to, or what was it, to Arkansas eventually, the whole scandal, back to Louisville, was ousted at Louisville because of another scandal, ended up at, what was it, Western Kentucky or whatever it was. At some point, I'm probably getting my timeline mixed up, but those are all the different stops. And I guess, you know, they're bringing him into UNLV. The dude can coach offense, and has very much put up points everywhere he's gone, basically in the college ranks. So that'll be kind of interesting to see if that'll be a good hire for Coach Odom there at UNLV. But some intriguing things from the 2 teams that finished in the bottom half of the West Division, although we're going away from divisions here in the Mountain West Conference. This will be a rivalry game that continues on, every couple of years for the University of Hawaii. And that's a big name. That's a big name coming in conference.
Yeah, it's always intriguing to me whenever you see, scandals and stuff about coaches in the news. It's kind of a big deal at the time, but then it seems like every year Coach Urban Meyer is still being tapped for some head coaching job somewhere. It's funny how schools and institutions just forget about stuff and just move on. And they're like, we need to win games somehow. And that guy has won games in the past, so let's just give him a shot. You know what I mean? It's not quite as big of a deal as maybe as what the media might make it out to be. Sometimes coaches like this still get an opportunity because they know what they're talking about, and their off the field antics aren't always as important as winning football games. That's just kind of the nature of what I've observed. I don't know about what do you think, Jordan?
Yeah, it's big money business, and guys with track records that have been successful. If you win enough football games, people will look the other way when it comes to some indiscretions off the field, and that's just kind of the facts of life. Until you screw up again, then they'll kick you to the curb. They'll go find another guy, right? Hugh Freeze is back coaching in the SEC after a whole lot of stuff. Getting paid handsomely to do it as well at Auburn, which is where Nick Marner's on his way to, as we talked about last week on the pod. One last thing before we wrap it up here on the second half, before we head into our 2-minute drill to close things off. I love this recommendation from Al. He says we got to create a Blessman to Allah Ironman Award for player commitment to excellence, longevity, and ability to manage injuries. I mean, that part's kind of hard, but I do love that. And obviously, listeners of this pod will be very familiar with Blessman and the number of games that he played over the course of his career, and just his incredible availability to basically be healthy and ready to go and productive over the course of 4+ seasons or whatever it was at the end of the day. For him, I kind of like that. Something at the end of year banquet or something that they can give out. The Blessman to Allah Ironman Award. There have been a few guys who I think who qualify for that over the years in this program and going forward.
Yeah, that in some ways exemplifies to a T what it means to be a University of Hawaii football player. Tough, resilient, accountable, and not afraid, and dependable week in and week out. And Blessman was that for us in the times that he was here at University of Hawaii. So Al, great idea, man. We'll try to get the word up the food chain to those who could maybe try to make something like that happen.
Yeah, we'll pass that up the ladder for sure. All right, big thanks again to everybody for dropping us your comments. We've got some topic suggestions as well from you for future episodes here throughout the off season. Please keep those coming our way as well. All right, 2-minute drill time. Congratulations to Paul Johnson, by the way, former University of Hawaii offensive coordinator, former OC at Navy, long time successful career as the head coach at Georgia Tech. He's been named to the College Football Hall of Fame, and pretty cool with the Hawaii ties there, and fun to see some of those old photos, right, of the time there in the early 90s when he was on staff, Bob Wagner and those guys. One other thing in relation to that, I think it was KHON who ran the story on it, and the fact that Colt Brennan isn't eligible because of these like very specific requirements to be considered for the College Football Hall of Fame, because he wasn't a consensus All-American at one point. You got to be like a consensus All-American, or you got to there are these things attached to being All-American that are necessitated for you to be considered. For coaches, you have to have like a certain win percentage. So there are some guys who kind of fly. I think Mike Leach is like one win either below or above that threshold. But my thing is always like with a lot of Hall of Fames is like, if you can't tell the story of the sport without these guys, and you can't tell the story without a Mike Leach or a Colt Brennan. Heck, I remember when ESPN did that 150th year anniversary, they did the big kind of multi-part program on it. They had a section on Colt Brennan in that 2017. Like, it was a team that captured the imagination. He was a Heisman finalist. If you're a Heisman finalist, you should be eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame. The dude went to New York. He finished third. He finished pretty high that year, and it's just kind of a shame. And maybe they should rethink some of those things.
Whoever's in the voting committees of these Hall of Fame, induction decisions across sports, it's nonsensical sometimes, Jordan, especially now with in the last 15 years or so, how influential social media has become. Just because you weren't an All-American, maybe that mattered in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, it doesn't mean you didn't matter in the scope of significance of college football during your time as a player. I really like the way that you phrase that about if you can't tell the story without a particular individual, they need consideration. I think about in baseball, look at the guys, even in the steroid era, put an asterisk next to their name. They deserve recognition for what they did. Baseballs are very difficult to hit. So it's kind of one of those things where some consideration needs to be put for, especially in college football. There've only been a few, maybe off the top of, on one hand, group of 5 schools that went deep and had a chance at a national title. They're the Cinderellas, the stories that you love to talk about, and Colt is a big part of that. So yeah, I wonder if we haven't seen the end of that just yet.
Yeah, Colt was third in the Heisman Trophy voting that year. Third.
It's a big deal.
That's a big deal. That was the year Tebow won it as a sophomore. He was clearly, the guy that year. It was a fairly close race between he and Darren McFadden. That's who came in second. So like that's the two guys Colt is behind in that. He should qualify for the College Football Hall of Fame. We got to rethink these things, guys. All right, that'll do it for us. Before we head out of here, Hunter, do you want to mention the Meet the Coach with Rich Hill? I want to remind folks of that before we head out here on episode 73.
Yeah. One last time, this episode will be airing tomorrow on Thursday, the 19th. So tonight, baseball season is right around the corner. Join UH Alumni Relations for a Meet the Coach event featuring Rich Hill, head coach for the UH Rainbow Warrior baseball team, on Thursday, January 19th at Beer Lab on University Avenue. Learn more about the team, get pumped for the upcoming season, and enjoy drinks from Beer Lab and food from Hamada General Store. Help us kick off the 2023 baseball season. For more information and how to purchase tickets, visit uhalumni.org.
He had me at Beer Lab. It'll be a pretty fun event. I think Coach Rich Hill's quite the character, and is doing a really exciting job there with the baseball program. I pretty high expectation, I think, for that group. Really good schedule as well. Really tough schedule that I think a lot of folks will be pretty pumped about. All right, that'll do it for us here on episode 73. Big thanks to Hunter, our guy Jonathan, putting this all together, stitching it ready for you as we release this tomorrow. Wrapping things up about 8 a.m. here on a Wednesday morning. Big thanks to Spectrum Mobile and Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union as well. We'll see you next week, everybody, on Hawaii Football Now. Aloha.
You've been listening to Hawaii Football Now with Jordan Helly and Hunter Hughes, all from ESPN Honolulu.